Oh,
Okay,
yeah, it looks great with the window behind you.
it's preparing to live, setting up your meeting for YouTube Live, redirecting to YouTube. At some point, it says live on YouTube.
I believe we're live.
Does it say that now?
It says live. So, hey.
Yeah, it looks like we're live. So, hello, everybody. It's really great to gather with Alfred and Patty. It's been a bit, a couple weeks since we last all chatted, right?
Well, we are in, today is Sunday, January 24th, 2021. It's the era of the Gemini presidents of the United States. We have two presidents, one president for Washington, D.C. No, this is the view of one very creative talk show host, and it's a multiple reality. One theory is that you are now in the reality that you think you're in, right? So this talk show host was saying that there are now two presidents of the United States. One for the District of Columbia, Joseph Robinette Biden, and the other president for the rest of the United States. And that one president is president of the District of Columbia, which is a city founded in 1871 after they took out a loan from the Vatican. The Vatican is a city that's 1 square mile. The District of Columbia is 10 square miles, and the city of London, which not even the Queen can go in. She has to ask permission because it's run by the Rothschild banks. And we did an interview with Gary Peter Carlson and Michelle Gibson and found out that it was the Philadelphia experiment that went back in time and broke the fabric of time-space in 1740. And with that, 425,000 archonic souls were able to come in, and those were the souls that turned into the Rothschilds and all the archonic souls that now occupy the bodies that are running the deep state. So that's what we're in, folks. Everybody has figured out the whole puzzle now. It was all, they actually retro causation in time. That's what the Philadelphia experiment was all about, to go back in time, set up the archonic souls that have now come in as the Rothschilds. So you've got the Vatican, the City of London, the District of Columbia. That was inauguration. They actually proved that the inauguration that was led by arch pedocriminals like Tom Hanks, Lady Gaga, etc., was actually shown live in Spain 11 hours before it was shown in the United States and in North America, here in Canada. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just repeating what I saw. Over to you guys.
Well, let's elaborate that it was done in a Disney studio, most likely, that they designed in 1995 for a movie called The President. And they used it again for the movie Nixon. So they've got this perfect White House, East Wing, West Wing, movie set. And perhaps they were doing their little performance there. Just to guess, asking for a friend, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely theater. And when we look at this, paradigm shift, and we think about even the term of lifting the veils, I look at it like lifting the mask. Like right now, people are moving through those lower astral levels, like beginning the awakening process, but they're so afraid of it that it's easy for them to just submit to control and do what they're told, when really it's about the removal of the mask, the removal of the veils. But it's almost like it's reaching ahead, so that in that moment of a lot of people being able to break free is when the control system is clamping down even stronger, because it's like, how can we prevent this breakthrough from happening? Because this is the paradigm shift. This is the window for this, paradigm shift with the, different aspects like the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and a lot that's going to be happening in this next week has to do with our ability to emerge and kind of get to the other side and rise above and remove, these veils. And being under the net has been a veil that didn't require us to wear masks, but the control system was working its strategies behind the scenes. And that's where, you know, Aleister Crowley and the gray ETs and the sort of Antichrist reversal energies in the Baphomet, you know, have been holding power and, you know, have been utilized where dark technologies have been a part of that to assimilate humans and to siphon our energies. So yeah, this is, you know, really the final, you know, kind of showdown in a lot of ways. And really, just like you guys said, it's what we decide the reality is. So if we're allowing our brain computer to still be tied into the matrix and we're allowing those programs to run us and our creative energy, we are, you know, very much in that timeline that we wouldn't want to see, but people can't really see the larger picture. The minute we bust through that fear, doesn't mean that we won't have to compromise here and there for a little bit longer. But once we bust through that fear, I mean, the momentum and the unification of all those that are holding these incredible missions, like we've been doing for a long time with each other and other colleagues and friends, that force is just going to grow and grow and grow and illuminate and expand and crush this, because the numbers are in our favor. The collective consciousness is holding way more of that than, you know, this level of control. But, you know, as long as their livelihood is being manipulated, whether they want to comply or not, sometimes people don't really have a choice. And that's where we need to rise in being this greater resource so they can transition out of that and feel like they have, you know, a sense of family and community and, you know, those that are, you know, ready to kind of tackle this stuff. And so the painful growth period of it all is the needing to detach and cut the cords with any part of this system that we're still holding on to, or wherever we're still allowing it to manipulate us. And once we do that, yeah, metaphorically, you know, we don't wear masks. We're very authentic and true to ourselves. And most people who have been through the awakening process are already there. But the confused ones, the ones that really don't know what to think, that aren't fully leftist or cheering on their own enslavement, but just really don't know what to do, I feel like those numbers are going to grow and increase in the next couple of weeks, because in a way they have to see this facade and theater of what it looks like to have the B-man for president, you know, to really just help them to see like, whoa, okay. I mean, how can this be denied now that we're actually seeing him in action? So I think that there's going to be a whole new wave of souls that are like ready to, you know, see beyond that and realize that, you know, a lot of people that support Trump aren't, you know, necessarily Republican. They're not necessarily counting on him or giving all their power away to him. It's just we all want the same thing. And that's our freedoms and our rights and our ability to pursue you know, what our dreams and visions are without this, you know, level of control. So yeah, that's all I'm going to really share for right now. This is kind of the lifting of the veils. Everything is symbolic to trying to prevent that, to keep things in reversal codes, but enough starseeds, enough grid workers, and the Venus transits that have corrected the inverted pentagram has actually nullified the mark of the beast. So even if the vaccines are coming out, a lot of the downloads I was getting lately is that there's a frequency correction that's already taken place that is going to neutralize and nullify that symbolism of the mark of the beast. And that's the reversal and awakening of that Baphomet energy, getting out of the dark mother reversal and being the planetary consciousness and divine mother energy that is available. And it's been a cosmic and earthly event that this has taken place, and nothing, you know, can really stop what it's going to end up producing. But right now we're still dealing with the theater that's going to collapse for a lot of people very soon.
Yeah. The greatest divide in human history is what we're living through right now. And to realize that the news media doesn't have 1 ounce of consciousness for the public. They're all paid to be severely anti-Trump and to be really mind-washing everyone. I think it's more than brain, it's mind, and it's mind control that they've been doing for so long. What's sad for me in Boulder, Colorado, which used to be a really beautiful spiritual town, we have so much dirty money here. We have Twitter headquarters and Google headquarters right here in Boulder. So, you know, we've attracted to ourselves, we've got 2, what I know of, underground facilities that have NIST computers. NIST is one of the places where they've got these quantum computers. And another one is now being talked about in North Boulder. A lot of people have, not a lot, but a few people have mentioned it. And every time it comes up, most of the people are like, oh my God, you know? So I've learned over the last few years that what I lived through 4 or 5 years ago is what I'm watching politically now. There's this playbook. We've got the Mockingbird media that is, I mean, my God, it's just so scripted and so embarrassing. As a human, if you look at any of the videos where they clip them together and there's 45 different people saying the same 6 words and they have slightly different intonations, but they're all saying the same 6 words, it's hideous. So what we just heard from the mainstream media that in my opinion was most hideous, considering that perhaps this was a staged fake inauguration for Joe, is that is that the whole thing is just to make everybody fight with friends, family, partners. And I don't know about the two of you and the rest of the world, but I know that my friends have completely changed. My circle of friends have very much changed. And it's almost like there's these minefields everywhere we go where you got to be careful what you say. Because all of a sudden, I mean, I find myself being really honest with everyone, and then I have to back up and say, oh, so you don't know about Hillary and Huma Abedin's horrific deeds that were exposed on that computer. What are you talking about? And and it's like, people still think Hillary and Bill are really sweet people, and that Michelle and Michael are a man and woman, really nice couple. And here I am thinking, did I fall in a hole? Did I hit my head? Am I the crazy one? Gaslight. I mean, there's times when basically anytime I open my mouth to the handyman that just installed the toilet, and at the end, he and the lady were so cool. I started talking, and I was like, are you aware of Hunter Biden's, laptop? I'm just curious if the town here is aware of what's really going on. And they're like, what are you talking about? So basically, all of the really dirty data about the Bidens, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, strangely, it's not something I'm proud of. When I used to travel to Europe to go and film in the crop circles, people told me all the way back to 2008, don't admit you're American. They hate you. So it's like, what a weird thing to say, but it was our politics. It was Bush at the time, really making America look heinous. And look at all the politics that have happened since then. So when I look at the people that I know doing heinous things, really evil people that kind of Laura and I mixed with over the years, and Alfred too, I mean, pure evil. And I used to blame it on poor thing. He must have been mind controlled. He must have no control that he would do such heinous crimes and feel good about it, or get away with it and feel good about that. But then I look at politics, and what have we been taught? What have we been shown? It's hideous. Those people that are leading us and running our cities are getting away with heinous lies and crimes, and we're watching it. And we continue to watch it. And then TV tells us, oh, aren't they wonderful? Benghazi, aren't they wonderful? Ukrainian oil deal and Hunter Biden, oh, Joe knew nothing. There's no evidence. Are we sick of those 3 words? There's no evidence? When the evidence was laid out in hundreds of videos. So even though I was severely targeted years ago, I was sent so much stuff to get me enraged about a particular subject, and I wouldn't bite because I wasn't sure if I was being set up, which I was. And I stayed really quiet until right at the end when somebody said, we're scared, we're in danger, you're the only one, please help us. And it was the strangest thing, but I gave in, and then volcano over my head of shit life. So it's not fun being a whistleblower. It's not fun what's going on, but it is enlightening. And I'm not scared. I've already been through such hell, and there's like an elephant wanting to sit on my lips because I'm so ready to blow it. I am so over the lies. I'm so over the NDAs to protect the guilty. Come on. Or as Joe says, come on, man. You know the thing. Over to you, Alfred. You're in Canada. I bet you're really glad you're not here.
Well, I do have a US address and I am a Gemini.
So you're partially here.
Well, you know, I mean, we have our national scandals here also.
I heard Canada's mad at Biden because of the pipeline.
Is what?
Canada is mad at pseudo president.
Because Biden's first official act was to cancel the XL pipeline, which was Alberta. They have the one of Bush Cheney. See, but Dick Cheney was the Rockefellers' right-hand dirty man, right? Dick Cheney flunked out of my Yale sophomore class. That's how bad he was.
Isn't his daughter in power now?
No, but she's gone, man. She just blew herself out. She voted for impeachment and now she has an opposition. I mean, this thing is so dirty, you don't even want to know, right? Laura, you must be some kind of goddess to have made it out of politics in 3 generations. I mean, really, think about it, right?
Oh, just staying out of politics?
No, to have made it out of politics. No, I mean, think about it.
Escaping.
Escaping.
I always, yeah.
You know, because one generation back was what, Julie and David and Julie.
Well,
yeah, and you know, and they are inside the beast. I mean, as far as everybody's concerned, right? But you are outside of the beast. So you know, so it's like this miracle. I mean, that you've been able to escape. You've achieved escape velocity from the gravity of the beast. I mean, it's just like you are just totally out of that.
Yeah, no, and it's always kind of been that way, much to the horror of I think my mom, until she sort of realized that this isn't threatening, this isn't going against anybody or anything. I'm very, connected to, Eisenhower, and I love all our family members, and we've always had beautiful, gatherings together. But anytime I would bring up these topics wouldn't be discussed. What's interesting, though, is a lot of the Eisenhower family members just became independent, and they weren't pleased with, either side. But yeah, we kind of like stayed out of that. And this is why these times don't, freak me out, because I don't have a mind for it. I couldn't even pass a government test in high school. Like, I don't think in terms of government, politics, or any of these kind of, systems. And I just gravitated towards the wilderness. I refused to go to the international ball where I was supposed to represent the United States and have a military escort in this other date. And it would have been like featured as the guest of honor, because it's Eisenhower women tradition, a feature in People magazine. And I just refused. And I felt so bad. I'm like, what if the family is like really, really mad at me because I broke the tradition? And then John S.D. Eisenhower, Eisenhower's son, whispers over to me at one of the gatherings. He's like, I am so glad that you broke that stupid tradition. And he goes, I see what a real warrior you are, and you're not. And he said something so validating. And but yeah, it's like, it just has never resonated. Every time I would go to a DC function, I was always ready to just explode all this stuff connected to this bigger picture and my mission. But yeah, then the Mars recruitment happened in 2006. So it's so surreal to be here, with the thought of they wanted me to go off planet. So it's like, all right, if I can get out of that, you really think I'm going to cry over having my Twitter account and my Facebook shut down? It's just like, there's a greater power here that we're all holding. And we've all been, I love just our mutual, friendships and support, because it's just made it so much more comforting and less daunting to, have folks like you in my life, and just a lot of the people that have been very supportive to, our work. But the thing is, it's about collapsing the governmental system so that we can really understand the true power of the planetary consciousness and who we truly are and what we're made of and what our junk DNA really is, so that we can recapture and regain the lost sciences, our galactic history, and all these things that have been kept out of the school systems, which are now indoctrination facilities. Yeah. And yeah, so I've just always been rebellious and just sort of really, really out there. So it never like felt like, oh, you know, I'm just being so strong, because the stigmas would be like, oh, you're just really out there and you know, you're crazy, and or you're dyslexic, or you have learning disabilities. But I'm like, you know, throw all these things at me all you want. Deep down, I know who I am and what I'm here to do. And it goes beyond identity. It's like I'm in service to something beyond me. And sometimes, yeah, it's difficult to process, but you know, we're all coming together, and this force is growing. And I know right before I got banned from Twitter, and I'm saying, you know, Mark of the Beast isn't going to work. I know that really pissed them off, because they're really, really counting on these really dark agendas to be successful. They hate laughter. They hate the fact that they can't really piss us off and drag us down into hatred and defeat. And I'm not saying that like I enjoy seeing them struggle with that, but it's like, you know, there's no polarization here. There's forgiveness and unconditional love. There's no hatred of Biden supporters, but it's a deep concern. Like, you better get your brain back. Like, you know, and there's not an overinflation of, yeah, it's all about the label of being a Trumper or MAGA or this or that. But to me, it's pretty harmless when one really looks at what this movement is really standing for. And it's so misrepresented. So I don't know. So what I feel and what I've always stood by is the power of the human spirit is what is leading the charge. And that power and that creative intent that we can hold and you know, pull together is totally an unstoppable force. And I can't, you know, say that it hasn't been a total roller coaster these last 2 weeks. I've been a total wreck, but not because I feel fear. It's just feeling so much of the pain and the confusion that people are feeling, and feeling like there's so many that just aren't reachable because of how, you know, Mockingbird Media and how the system has indoctrinated people into repelling themselves away. You know, even before, you know, Trump came onto the scene, because I never voted, I avoided politics, all of that. And I never considered this administration to be something political. I feel like it is all about restoring the republic and ending the corporation of the United States and bringing it back to what it truly needs to be, almost to the point where it seems like they're all being locked in their prisons. It's like they're literally locked in the prison of Washington, D.C., soon to be City of London, and Vatican. Like literally they're walling themselves off, but I don't think they realize that they're creating a prison for themselves, because there's a whole world that exists outside of these kind of negative alien reservations, similar to like Area 51, but on a more kind of human facade power structure level, that they're literally walling themselves off. And the Great Awakening is pushing them into that corner, and they don't realize it. Maybe they do, but that's what I see, is that they're being contained now. And we get to just go back to live our life, rip those masks off, stamp on those vaccines, or at least make sure that we get the therapeutics and we get the real doctors and experts back to, you know, give us good tips about how to live a healthy lifestyle. Because it's really, this is what Ascension Energy is all about, is that we step into those higher dimensions that transmute and alchemize all these things that we might fear. And the release of fear and the welcoming of these greater energies being integrated into our awareness can crush anything, any dark weapon, any virus. So this is a time where we have to breathe through and move through whatever fear and anxiety. And first of all, realize that like death and the afterlife is so much easier and more blissful than what we're dealing with now. So pretty much anybody on the ground who's awakened are absolute warriors to still be trucking along. Because I know we don't fear death. Sometimes I'm like, man, it would be so, like I look at roadkill, I'm like, man, you kind of lucked out today, didn't you? But I know that sounds really twisted. Like, no, that does sound really twisted. But we're multidimensional. We're moving out of the personality matrix, the mind control fields that have taught us to fear things that actually are so healing if we can just let go and trust a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, Patty, yeah. Well, you know, thank you for that, Laura. And so Patty had asked me, what about you, Alfred? And so this is me. And I don't know whether to do it now or at the end, but I have something to offer the people of the United States.
Oh, please. I think now is great. What do you think, Patty?
Oh yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. So this is what I have to offer the people of the United States. And you know something? It's beyond Republican or Democrat. It's beyond the present system. But I'm going to have to share screen. Is that okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go share screen, and I'm going to go here to here, and this is an invitation for everybody. Let me put it right here, and hopefully everything will work. Okay, can everybody see what I'm seeing at my end?
Plan of action, living platform for a new Earth community. Oh, how brilliant.
Okay. Oops. You know what I did? I made a mistake. I've got to stop share and I've got to start it again because I made a little error. But let me do that again. And let me do this
We're
again.
working so hard for so long for the people, Alfred.
Oh boy. Now, let me, what am I doing here? Oh boy. You know, I'm just going to have to do this real quick and go through the beginning of it. Okay, here we go.
It looks good.
So this is my offering to the people of the United States, and I am an American. And a direct linear ancestor of mine came over on the Mayflower. By the last name of all, the linear ancestor came over in the Mayflower. So, and I do have indigenous DNA, North American indigenous DNA of the Taino tribe. So I'm an authentic North American and an authentic pilgrim. How's that?
Very cool.
So I got all the bases covered. Okay, so this is the living platform for a New Earth community, and one of Laura and our deep friends downloaded this, and I think it's a beautiful sort of emblem for the New Earth community. And what I'm saying is that, look, this is breakdown, breakthrough. This is perfectly plausible. We are looking at the breakdown of the United States of America. S-T-A-K-E-S, the United States of America, whether it's the 1871, the law of 1871, where they started the District of Columbia to be with the three states, the papal, the City of London, and the District of Columbia, or whether it was the original Constitution in which the African American slaves were not full people, and it wasn't based on the Iroquois Confederacy model, which was it was supposed to be, and where the second chapter of the Illuminati, otherwise known as Skull and Bones from my alma mater, Yale, made it through to make it Luciferian and not divine as thought it was. So maybe the United States of America, a very young republic, has to go boom, and maybe the nation state system, which is just a legacy of the Anunnaki reptilians, let it break down so we can break through to the New Earth community, right? And I think that's what Laura's saying about ascension and what Patty's saying. It's all about ascension. Why identify with something that is just a legacy of Luciferians and of the reptilian Anunnaki, basically, if you do a deep study. And so this was actually downloaded by a mutual friend of ours. And it's kind of a nice mnemonic. If you look at yourself, say, I am whole, I am multidimensional, I am love, I'm pure energy, I'm creative, I am not the ego, I'm not the ego, you know, whatever my ego projection might be, and I am infinite. And so all of us individually are now creating a New Earth community, however many of those conscious souls are on the planet, and ever so many more pop into awakening each day, because we're all popping into awakening, and we're becoming the New Earth community. And ascension really means ascension into awakening. That's what it means fundamentally. And so what we need is a living platform so that we can subsist inside a living platform. I mean, nation states were just a living platform, but they were fundamentally built for the Anunnaki, or the appointees of the Anunnaki that all wore funny hats, like religions who were bishops or popes, so they all wore funny hats, or kings or queens, so they all wore funny hats, or bankers, so they all wore funny hats. You know, money, religion, and government were the three ways that the Anunnaki decided to control this planet and humans. And that's how the archons or the reptilians control the humans, because the only platform that they have for humans is war, disease, crime, and poverty. So we want something better than that. So we want a living platform, right? So this is about a living platform for a New Earth community. And here it is. And that's an address where you can go to it. And as of the December 21st Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, I believe we started entering a unity consciousness age of Aquarius positive timeline. Subjectively, I feel that an awakening humanity passed through a portal on December 21st, 2020, on the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction onto a unity consciousness collective timeline toward a positive future, such that, hey, it's a piece of cake now. It's like we're like rolling downhill. You know, all that we're watching now is the breakdown of the old system. You know, we were working so hard to make it break down. Hey, watch, it's just all falling apart. So the living platform for a New Earth community is open to network and participation by all ethical human souls of goodwill, genuinely and authentically committed to the principles enunciated in the living platform for a New Earth. And we're going to have open online meetings starting in 2021 in English every last Sunday of the month, starting Sunday, January 31st, 2021. That's next Sunday, from 10 a.m. To 12 a.m. For 2 hours. From 12 a.m. to 2 p.m. it's in Spanish, and that's the Zoom link for it. And so what is the living platform for a New Earth community? Well, this isn't complete, but these are some of the elements that we who are creating a New Earth community, that so that we can live on this planetarily in a New Earth. We want truth and disclosure, a full public disclosure of the presence of intelligent civilization in Earth's environment, and a global referendum as to how and in what conditions humanity should enter into relations with and travel space colonization, space governance with organized intelligence, universe, multiverse, and omniverse society. You know, how are we going to enter into this? Because right around us, we have the Pleiadians, the Alpha Centaurians, the Sirians, the Arcturians. They're all around us, but we also have the reptilians. They're all around us. So how are we going to enter into that? New energy, teleportation, and time travel since at least 1971. So we want a full public disclosure of, up until now, secret new energy, 0-point free, anti-gravity, exotic new energy sources now available for application on Earth, public implementation and rollout of sequestered free energy technologies for power dwellings, human settlements, industry, transport, and propulsion, communication, and other areas. Planetary teleportation is a precondition of advanced planetary status. We've had planetary teleportation since at least 1970. Donald H. Rumsfeld, who as a war crimes judge on a tribunal of 2 tribunals of conscience of a judge as guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity, was the one who said, no, this planet is not going to have the planetary teleportation. Is going to be for the U.S. infantry only to get to the battlefield. And he did that in 1970. And we know that because of a mutual colleague that we have who is a whistleblower. Well, that time's over. He is a war criminal who cannot travel out of his own country for fear of arrest. Boom. Implementation of teleportation as a global, national, regional, and transportation system replacing polluting fossil fuel vehicles, trains, buses, trucks, autos, and their intensive land use in highways, railroads, and urban freeways, as well as a regulated time travel public education program. Recognition of animals as sentient beings with rights. Worldwide, personhood rights to animals with concomitant rights against murder, slaughter, torture, and cruel and inhumane treatment, special intelligent civilization status for cetacean, including whales and dolphins, who are much more intelligent than humans, development of healthy, safe, tasty protein meat substitutes for humanity's consumption. We have millions of animals that are being slaughtered that we're eating. That's why we're in this low vibration of war, disease, crime, and poverty, among other things. A living platform for New Earth community, secure online direct democracy at the local, regional, national, and global level. We now have secure virtual technology that permits the implementation of Swiss canton democracy worldwide, i.e., where everybody goes to the center of the village and votes directly on the laws. There's no more need for city councils, state or provincial legislatures, national parliaments, or congressmen. They're the intermediaries. They get bought off by vested interests all the time, and that's why politics is so dirty. They're all compromised by sex, money, whatever. It's all dirty. That's why it's so dirty. And ultimately, in time, a gathering nation, even the United Nations, which is super dirty. Experience of time has shown that the powers that be buy off all intermediaries. Direct virtual democracy adapts secure virtual technologies and provides hack-proof citizen voting at the municipal, provincial, state, regional, national, and world level. Under the virtual direct democracy, the entire city votes on municipal law, the entire nation votes on national laws, the world population votes on global standards, all duly informed by government staff at the respective local, national, and world level. Municipal government, for example, is tasked with efficiently picking up the garbage and managing the city according to the laws passed by local virtual democracy. Boom. Raising the vibration of planet Earth, right?
Great.
I mean, it's raising the vibration. This is ascension, it's awakening. Okay, reinvention of money as a human right and a public utility like air, water, and electricity, available for creative investment at public money utilities, and a global ban on privately controlled central banks like the U.S. Federal Reserve System, the Bank for International Settlements. The Bank for International Settlements is controlled by the Rothschilds. We know now that the Rothschilds are a group of archonic souls that were allowed into our thing by the because the fabric of space-time was broken in 1740 by the Philadelphia experiment, and that's why we've been under this thing. The whole story is known now. And licensing of consumer imposition of heavy criminal penalties. Money is just like air, water, or electricity. It's just, we're in an intermediate planet. Advanced planets don't even have money. So if you need money for some kind of project, you just go to a bank and you get money. You know, it's a different way. We're in a new way. Social guarantees in the form of annual income, health care, and elementary, secondary, and post-secondary education for every person on the planet for life. Implementation of traditional alternative as well as advanced extraterrestrial medical technologies. They can replace your arms, your teeth, everything. Age extension, all of that. World debt forgiveness, global forgiveness on all public and private debts. World bankruptcy for a bankrupt system. All of this was just archonic and reptilian control by these archonic souls that have incarnated and use money, government, media, all these things as control systems on the community of human souls. Disenfranchisement on the state power of monarchies and religions worldwide. The UK monarchy and the Vatican are examples of abuses, and all the dark monarchies, the Dutch monarchy, where they have human hunting parties that occur based on non-democratic principles, i.e. the divine right of kings and popes. What is that? So abolishment, criminalization of the war industry, a criminalization of and global ban on war, genocide, and depopulation. That was just by the bankers. The war was an industry, and they just banked both sides of the war to destabilize the human population for depopulation. A ban on war as a dispute resolution method, a permanent ban on the design, production, or sale of weapon systems, including nuclear weapons, space-based weapons, conventional weapons. Criminal prosecution and conviction of the war crimes racketeering organization, including the pandemic, the genocidal technologies pandemic racketeering organization, for planning and triggering wars and armed conflicts with false flag operations. All wars are false flag operations. Regional and global radiation genocide and ecocide, nuclear agenda, planning and implementing environmental attacks through geoengineering, weather warfare, HARPs, chemtrails, scalar warfare, robotization, genocide of humanity, famine, vaccines, GMO foods, DNA manipulation, carrying out a program of assassination and COINTELPRO terror against activists, researchers, social inventors in the areas of peace research, new energy, food, nutrition, democracy, and electoral politics, carrying out as Dope Inc. a lethal 300-year-old conspiracy to addict humanity to narcotics and to criminalize useful substances such as hemp for profit and enslavement. The transhumanist agenda of population mind control through nano weapons, EMF, and other weapons. Abolition of big tech monopoly. Look what big tech has done just in the last month. I mean, Twitter. You have the founder of Twitter from his yacht in French Polynesia bans the president of the United States. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. No. You just can't make it up. And so abolition of the big tech monopoly of all these platforms of communication, telecommunications, social media, all of this becomes social cooperatives and etc. Now, the living platform for the New Earth community, how will these suggested collective actions and policies manifest a positive future along humanity's positive timeline? The basic equation of a positive future suggests that collective actions and policies will manifest out of the synergy of the positive timeline and humanity's awakening consciousness. The positive future equation reflects a new level of collective manifestation by humanity and its individuals, resulting from the synergistic dynamics of the positive timeline and humanity awakening to unity consciousness. So that's the thing. That's the living platform, and that's a tribunal which Laura knows about, Patty knows about, everybody knows about. Go to peaceofspace.org. We have essentially, we're disappearing the pandemic through law, and this is the living platform for a New Earth community. Join us and be free.
Beautiful.
So that is essentially, you know, that's the invitation to the people of the United States and to the people of the world. This is all breakdown, breakthrough, breakdown of the old, you know, and a breakthrough to the New Earth community. That's my interpretation.
Well, yeah, absolutely spot on. And I have just like maybe 3 slides, if you guys wouldn't mind.
Yeah, please.
Okay. It's just so incredible, because it's just like you're always like right there in that flow of energy of like anchoring and like really holding the embodied organic ascension timeline. It's like, okay, this might be happening in the world, but it's like, and this is what I said to the Mars recruiters, not that they're creating a monster, but I'm like, you have no idea. The more you try and stop me, the more I just tap into what I'm here to do. So, you know, thank you. And not, I mean, I know we all have our own formula, but it's just, you know, you're an unstoppable force, and so are all of us. And thank you for reminding us, and just all that you do, you know, both of you, is just, that was really beautiful. And yeah, I just want to share a little bit about our greater, you know, kind of DNA potential. I mean, I'm still kind of processing and reflecting on everything you shared, but no, I'll jump on it. And let me see about this share screen. And
It felt like
I think you need to give me permission to do share screen.
No, you have automatic permission. So just hit the share. Yeah.
All right. Ooh, it's showing the wrong thing. It's like, oh, check out my email account, and
37,000 waiting to be read.
Oh, did it say that? Oh God. Oh, that's disturbing. All right. Hold on.
No wonder I don't hear back from you.
Oh, well.
Always.
I gotta move like to is it Proton? Because Gmail is totally compromised. So all right, so here it is. And do this. All right, you guys can see that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so if you look at this that is written here, and you start at the very bottom, you'll see the 3D Earth, then the veil, then the soul matrix, monad matrix, avatar matrix, and universal mind matrix. And if you look at the numbers connected to it, you'll see dimensions 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, 12, and then going into the universal mind matrix 13, 14, 15, which is considered the cosmic trinity. So it's all about, you know, taking what resonates and leaving the rest. But this is what we're dealing with. When we're looking to understand what our junk DNA is, everything that exists beyond the veil is what is considered junk. But if we look at actually what it represents, these different strands of DNA, the soul matrix, monad matrix, avatar matrix. So what does that mean? Well, these are different stages of alchemical marriage, sacred union, and the integration of polarity that creates like the electromagnetic, you know, spectrum and the awakening to the greater spectrum of frequency that they use dark technologies to keep in sort of the scrambled fire code sort of junk sort of state, so that we don't want to access it. We don't even think it's there, or we make fun of it. And so we stay underneath this veil. So it takes going through the dark night of the soul and a death, rebirth, alchemical, and transformation process in order to begin to step into this other stuff. And of course, a lot of us have already done that. And we are already in the soul matrix. And many of us go into that higher cosmic trinity, 0-point unified field. And that's what the 13 kind of represents, the 14 being the Christ Sophia template and the 15 being the Father arc. But then there's dimensions beyond that, because the galactic cores of Andromeda and Milky Way, once they became one with each other, it started to access dimensions in the Andromeda galaxy that we're bringing in and integrating. But we can't really appreciate or experience this if we're locked in this lower personality matrix, which is considered the program of 3D Earth. That's where we're vulnerable to mind control, digression of, humans, instead of being on an ascension timeline, as we're seeing, it's kind of like still going in reverse. So they do have these reversals, and they've been really focused on these reversals, but mostly the reversals are only really, really working through the media, through the educational systems and indoctrination. As far as the Earth grids are concerned and the planetary grid network, it's not going to be successful. All they can do is hold on to dear life to the minds of scared humans and confused humans, or ones that have literally been deceived. So anyway, in the personality matrix of 3D Earth, mind control, digression of human, junk DNA is the science that we were taught. Loss of galactic memories is partially why. And this is where we're most vulnerable to AI assimilation and being further polarized. And that's the whole conquer and divide thing that we're seeing. And, how politics and even religion, or, any of these kind of, things can bring out the worst in each other and really divide relationships that might have, been otherwise pretty darn healthy. And this is kind of the bifurcation, that the first stage of bifurcation is saying, okay, the love might always be there. There's no real rejection or abandonment when you're an awakened soul that's connected to the heart. But where it ends up becoming a cost to your energetic body, and your everyday life, sometimes we have to leave those jobs or toxic relationships, or let go of certain addictions, whether those are unconscious addictions, because humans don't realize, if they watch too much television, if they're addicted to shopping, that's like being on drugs. And it's not about judgment. It's just saying, okay, these energetic cords are keeping you in this time loop. So there's got to be a point in which one is willing to say, okay, I can let go of that. And maybe there's still sort of like a kind of meet you halfway kind of relationship, because we have to wake up in the physical body. We want to, feel a sense of, contentment, especially with things being so dark. Sometimes they're not addictions, they're more vices, just things to fall back on that might just help us to have a good day. So it's not like, oh, it has to be so severe, but at least has to cut the cords from the things that literally are vamping and siphoning based on the belief systems, and how belief systems, end up infecting our creative energy to the point where people enable the dark timelines they don't want to be on, because they end up either in the battle of it, or they don't realize that they're being played. And yes, there is that fight, and there is that warrior energy that needs to kind of recognize that this is a war on consciousness, but a war on consciousness isn't going to be won through, what we're seeing with some of the tactics is, becoming racist is going to take care of racism, where the double standards and the hypocrisy is so extreme that if that doesn't wake people up, I don't know what is. And so many of us don't even live in that dimensional landscape where racism even exists within their own heart and soul, but they're not going to accept that. They're like, oh, it doesn't even matter if this is the way you've been, or if this is your genetics, or if this is your past. They will literally just make sure that if you have white skin, that you need to feel shame, or you have, some sort of privilege. And it's we can look at history and really pick it apart and look at the fact that there's been multiple genocides and holocausts and enslavement. And we're dealing with human slavery to this day, child trafficking, human trafficking, young children. It doesn't matter what race or color. The thing is, that's the priority. And we have to be mature adults and not fall into this pit of seriously, so to me, this is the final stage of this divorce with the old paradigm, where literally the a-hole partner, whether it's the wife or the husband, making that person's life miserable for wanting to move on and get a divorce, that they're going to drag you into court. They're not going to just say goodbye, amicably. But the divorce has already happened, but you're just going to make your life as miserable as possible until it's just you kick them to the curb and you cut all energetic ties, and anywhere that energy signature kind of finds you or comes at you because of maybe the trauma or the lack of self-worth that relationship brought upon you, are the, different things that we need to deal with in our everyday. outside of that larger relationship that we're breaking up from. The damage of like narcissistic relationships to a sensitive and very spiritual soul, you know, takes a long time to heal from. So I feel like the innocence and the goodness of humanity is recovering from such a dark system that is, you know, created like so much trauma through world wars, through all the lies and deceptions, and the list is so long, and the use of these dark technologies. So when we move through the veil, and a lot of us have already kind of pierced the veil, we've gone through our dark night of the soul, we might have gone through a lot of loss, we had to kind of like bounce back, maybe recover from illness, injury, attack, anything, you know, the loss of love, you know, heartbreak. But we know that being dragged into those difficult places allows us to experience alchemy and transformation and embrace the fact that, you know, everything maybe that's ripped away from us is either an upgrade or it's ripped away from us. And if it's meant to be with us, it's going to come back, because that's the power of the universe. That's what the universal energies are encoded with, cosmic and natural law. So what we fear actually prevents us from the greater treasures that are going to actually help us in these times. So once we kind of pierce that veil, we move into the soul matrix. And when we look at those dimensional energies, that is the Tara system, and reptilian invasions happened there. Tiamat exploded. That whole system crashed and fell into Eartha, the lower harmonic universe that changed our DNA. And on a metaphorical level, brought us into the tree of knowledge, where we would need to live out duality and experience duality in order to, you know, kind of regain and restore the full architecture of our DNA. And that's when I get to the top, where, you know, the original attack on the Lyran system launched us on this lost and found journey of like, okay, if it's a free will universe, if we're going to, you know, be given the gift of ego, we need to learn the right use of power. And sometimes in order to learn the right use of power, one needs to abuse it or lose it, to understand the responsibility connected with it. And that, yes, there's freedom to a certain degree, but freedom isn't, oh, you can do whatever you want and be service to self without there being major repercussions. It's the freedom to, you know, be the divine being that you are, and the freedom to explore the fullness of all that you're made of, and use it with integrity and responsibility. Because without that, of course, it's going to create karma. And that's not because of a punishing God. That's just the laws of nature. As we know, if we're not living a balanced lifestyle, it's easy to, and it's just easier to bring it down to the physical. If we don't clean the kitchen after we cook a meal, and cockroaches and flies and ants show up, well, it's going to be very hard to cook the next meal. So if we're not in an energetic maintenance and taking care of the energetic body and the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual levels, our elemental system is going to get contaminated. And we're seeing this outer reflection of where the world is at as far as its health on these multiple levels. So the nucleic acids in our DNA connect with the elements. Now the fifth element has returned, and that's the ether. And that's what comes in and purifies. And it's the energy of unconditional love. And that's grounded back into the planet. I'm going to quickly kind of go into that. But so the soul matrix, a lot of us are already in. That's how we meet soul families, soulmates, you know, have deep connections and relationships that go beyond appearances. You know, instead of the facades that we were taught like growing up or in high school, you know, just living on a surface level, which never vibed with me. I was just like, this is just, what the F? Thank God I'm not going to drop F-bombs. Please don't. So, you know, when we break the mind control, when we break, you know, these different things that are infecting our self-esteem, you know, telling us this is what it means to be successful, beautiful, smart, what, you know, whatever. Once we break that and just realize, wait a second, I can live on my own terms. I can determine for myself what that actually truly means. Then we emerge and we're at this next level. And that's why, you know, our frequency begins to attract, you know, people that are going to hold a lot of meaning in our lives, that'll probably, you know, stand the test of time. And then once we move into that, we go to the next level. We start to switch on 7, 8, and 9. And first it starts off energetically with our chakra system. You know, obviously it's going to take a little bit for our physical vessel to be able to embody these kind of energies. But once we stay consistently connected to these kind of energies, that's when the physical body begins to shift. We lift the veil. And so the monad matrix is 7, 8, and 9. Strands 7, 8, and 9, and that corresponds with the chakras. And that actually is a infinity spiral in our energy field. It's also where the Orion Wars happened and digressed us, right? So we have to kind of move through that trauma or pain or those memories. And we're also dealing with psychic attack, because it increases when we start to activate that stuff, because it doesn't want us to move from carbon-based to crystalline. But when we just not take the psychic attacks personally, we can begin to neutralize the ethereal implants that give us a lot of like negative self-talk or a feeling of defeat. Because right as we're about to cross the threshold, just like we're seeing as a humanity with the masks and all these things that make it a lot harder, right at the point of having a breakthrough, like you were talking about, Alfred, you know, everything gets like really crazy right at that moment. Then a person can say, you know what, I'm not going to take this personally. I'm not going to let it make me feel like I failed on my spiritual path, or I just don't get it. We have to understand that there's so much archonic negative kind of talk that's like, no, you're going to stay and be a host for me to feed on, because that's the parasitic system. So once we cross that threshold and we just don't take it personally, and we begin to move into all this, if we could do it on a collective level, I mean, that's the greater goal. We activate the infinity spiral. And I have all sorts of pictures, and I just want to kind of keep this short. But and then we move into the avatar matrix. And that's just, I mean, we visit that a lot. But can we integrate it fully into our physical lifestyle so that we're not compartmentalized or kind of living a contradictory life? But the avatar matrix is dimensions 10, 11, 12, corresponding with our 10, 11th, and 12th DNA strands. And that brings us back to the Lyra energy. And reptilian attacks happen there. And that launched higher consciousness into sort of a lost and found thing. Different systems emerged from that, like, you know, Vega and the Pleiadians. I mean, all the different systems that we see, right? But then when we get to the 0 point unified field and we begin to connect with the cosmic trinity, we're in this energetic flow that begins to actually heal these galactic wars. It's a part of how we naturally time travel, and also get so aligned with our creative energy that no matter what is coming at us, we are not, we're that energetic cord or that connection or attachment or that mind computer being a part of the matrix is gone. And that's why when we enter the soul matrix, it's all about the throat chakra. Are we speaking truth with our words and activating people? Or are we speaking mind control and BS and actually keeping people in a low vibration? And so as we see with people getting darker and more polarized and meaner and more hateful, they're literally, this part of them is getting so clogged up that they're not able to pierce the veil, and they stay in the 3D thing. So they get assimilated into AI and they become hive mind and maybe become a gray or EB kind of entity, and then have to, you know, kind of figure out how to get to the genetic material back at a later stage. So this is the process of switching on these dormant strands of DNA. And even if this part of it kind of looks a little bit complicated, it's a greater love story. It's just saying, I deserve better. I have self-worth. I love myself. I'm connected to the earth, connected with spirit. And all these harmful relationships are going to be broken. And even though it might be scary to let those things go, because of the fear and the propaganda and all the stuff that we've been fed, we are on the verge of experiencing the most glorious, like, true love with creation and with ourselves and with one another. That's high vibe and healthy. And that's what's going to starve them. And that's what they're really afraid of. That's why it's like, okay, well, we'll use media and social media to really turn you guys on each other. We'll hire trolls, you know, and we'll create fake accounts of the people that you might want to follow. So, yeah, so the timeline shifted. The timelines have already shifted. I'll quickly say we now evolve into the crystal star hosting phase of the planetary consciousness evolution or ascension cycle. This begins the cycle of consciousness rehabilitation, re-education, and repair of the planetary body and original human DNA architecture. The fifth element, which is connected to the mitochondrial DNA, which is connected to the mother and the planetary consciousness, is literally giving us everything we need to, you know, restore the tree of life template. And then the Venus transits, like I share in most of my presentations, and I could get into, you know, way more, but, you know, but look, I mean, it's a correction. The orbit of Venus has drawn a star, a pentagram, and we've been dealing with the Baphomet, the reversal energies, everything that's created digression that has impacted and infected the planetary grid networks that have been repaired. So whatever people are seeing that is causing them, you know, to fear, this is where we need to set our minds free, because the actual truth is the organic ascension timeline cannot be destroyed. It is the true reality. Once you lift the veil and get out of the mind control part of it all, and you kind of face that fear, you know, you move through those triggers, you find like-minded people, and you get to the other side of it, you know, you're going to start to really realize what a powerful creative being that you are. But for us to really be able to do that, we have to really hold integrity, compassion, forgiveness, acceptance, but also ultimate boundaries. Because I'm feeling like, you know, there's no room or space for these parasitic influences on whatever level to have any access to us, whether it's through our empathy, whether it's through making excuses for them, like you were talking about, Patty. It's just like, I'm really feeling like the boundaries are just getting stronger. But there's always going to be like an action plan. Like I always see, like, or I used to see, you know, leaving footprints of light, like kind of Hansel and Gretel. It's like, okay, we need to move on. It's been nice hanging out with y'all. We're moving over here now. Maybe a bifurcation. I got a lot of the timeline wars and kind of bifurcation kind of slides as well. But it's like, nobody's ever going to be abandoned. But, you know, and maybe this is just me, like right now, it's just, I mean, the amount of people I've blocked and deleted from social media that have been utterly abusive, I've always done. But it has to come down to any space in me, you know, that allows something to, you know, knock me off my center. And I've always felt like I was pretty good at it, but yeah, I mean, I'm always paying attention to that kind of thing. And I think more people are going to recognize the need to do that for themselves as well. You know, that this is the greater energetic work that we're doing is, you know, maintaining the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual planes and, you know, the hygiene that is required in order to stay clear, pure, and in one's truth and authenticity, and grounded while also expanded, which restores the tree of life. Is just that whole process. And then we'll have all the internal guidance that we need. We'll know what we need to do when we need to do it. We'll be able to listen to ourselves. We'll be able to heal ourselves. And that external world that's trying to do it for us will fall for our own timeline. And if each of us does that, yeah, we might see a great collective shift. But if we just do that just for ourselves without worrying about all that other outer stuff, we're going to see amazing miracles and beautiful things happen. I truly feel. So I'll just leave it at that.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Both of you had such positive presentations and information. Alfred is multidimensional. Laura is multiplanetary. And I'm going to speak for Mother Earth because I seem to be the one whose work was about bringing up crop circles. And what a great subject to misinform the world about all these years. And I had a wonderful trick played on me. Yesterday, it was recommended on Facebook that I delete my past sites that I went and looked at. And I woke up this morning and it's 2019 on my timeline. Everything on my timeline is 2018, 2019. And all of a sudden my past, it appears, showed up, which I'm going to have to take seriously and delete. But it's interesting because it reminds me, my whole wall was all these beautiful crop circles, one after another after another. And because of what I've been through for telling the truth about crop circles, I kind of put it off to the side. And it wasn't until a few days ago when I saw somebody pull up that great footage of two balls of light making a crop circle in seconds. And the idiot said, Scotland. Oh, it's from Scotland. Yes, I'm an expert. And it was in Scotland. And it's famous, 1996, Oliver's Castle in Wiltshire, England. So I thought, wow, I stepped back for a few years, and this is what we get now. We get ancient aliens getting England to hire a human crew to go make a crop circle on camera so that you can see it's a couple of blokes from a bar making a crop circle. You know, I try and forget these things, but here we are. We are at the intersection of the Great Awakening. Laura, your statement of divorcing the old paradigm was priceless. It reminds me of when I saw this Scotland crop circle, I was so fired up. I called the host of Coast to Coast Radio a few days ago, and I said, Lisa, happy creepy new year. And immediately we started laughing. So good start. But I said, you know what? The misinformation is too big. I need to come and talk about crop circles again. And I kind of let it go since I called her. But then today when I woke up and my last 2 years disappeared, just disappeared, which is great because I'm very political. I don't like being lied to. And I am somebody who I'm really learning how these people got away with heinous crimes just in my personal life. But when you're so physically wounded, you can't really protect yourself and you can't really think clearly. So I'm really looking at my life with great gratitude. And when people say, how do you do it? How do you keep smiling? What's this patty positive stuff? It's like, I've got a secret. I mean, aside from living in Colorado, hey, I also do C60 every day, but good C60, C60 Evo. And like everything in America, we've even got people selling C60 that's crap from Wuhan, China. We've got people selling C60 to ruin the relationship of the world's understanding of the carbon-60 molecule, which can be exceptional if you manufacture it right. So every aspect of our reality that is an ascension piece, like free energy, like crop circle technologies. Now, why would that be thrown in there? And why did somebody spend so much money to, shall we say, hide the science and hide my films? Interesting light coming right into my head, no matter where I move. I guess, yeah. Can you see that, or is it just me? It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's kind of a ray of light coming down, right?
Well, I guess it's telling me I'm going in the right direction. But what we don't know about crop circles in general is that the seeds were growing 30 to 400% more food and biofuel per plant. So here we think free energy is great, but nobody can talk about it or you'll get in trouble. Now, why would crop circles have gotten me in so much trouble? Because I made it into the lab. And what's going on in crop circles is not only are the seeds producing a lot more yield, but the seeds are growing plants that have up to 75% more nutrition per plant. So you've got this technology that's growing super seeds. And how can we use that in real life? Well, what happened was I took my camera into the lab a year after William Levengood died, and Penny Kelly, who was his real partner for 16 years, explained the science. And the science was so impeccably retested that it's just one more thing that they've hidden really, really well. But what I saw in the lab that I want to mention to the public, because there will be farmers out there who give a care to bring back their organic food. And we need to be looking at this more seriously. The technology happening in crop circles is actually spinning vortices of plasma. And they figured it out. What we have is spinning vortices of plasma that have different frequencies that are helping to create these super seeds. Now, they weren't producing that much food until William Levengood, the scientist, lost a pile of seeds in the corner of his desk. And when he pulled them out months later, they were dried, they were shriveled, but he still had that little voice. And I know that little voice because I made 8 movies with that little voice. And what he heard was, don't throw those seeds away, put them in the germination tank. So he did. And boom, that's when they got the super seeds. The crop circle seeds weren't necessarily super seeds, but when he dried them for a few months and then regenerated them in a germination tank, he grew up to 400% more food and biofuel repeatedly, redundantly. And so we know that it's a real science that can work. Now, what did he do? He tried to figure out what's going on with these spinning plasma vortices, and he's using magnets to see, with the seeds from outside the formation, inside the formation, and they realized that it was definitely spinning fields of charge density plasma. So now, in my final film, which is free, cropcirclefilms.com/free, my final film's Crop Circle Diaries. And if you listen to what I'm saying and you're a farmer and you want to make a difference in the world, oh, sue me, Satan. I'm just going to go for it. In the middle of my movie is the machine. It's a charge density plasma machine that anybody can take seeds and put in there between these two round metal plates. And I don't know the science, but there was a wire that went to this little box and it said 30. It was running at 30%. So charge density plasma, I don't know what it is, but some of you will. And if you go look at Crop Circle Diaries, when I take the camera into the lab, which boy did I have to do fast, you can see the machine. Pause it, copy it. Somebody's got to figure it out. I don't know how it works. I just know it does. And I know that William Levengood his work was hidden like mine was, is a polite way to say it. And I've been out of the field for a few years because it just got too dangerous and ugly. Laura knows, Alfred knows. I made a choice to live instead of fight. And the field just got weird. All the great people passed away and a whole circus came in. I call it the infiltration. And it was just like a circus of, it wasn't the same frequency. That's all I can say. So it's kind of like when people say, oh, crop circles are fake, you're full of shit. It's like, well, if you've ever been in one and saw the little hairs stand up on your arm, the tingles and all that, you wouldn't say that. But of course you haven't been in one and you'd rather insult me after I've been in more than 100 and made 8 films. But until film number 8, I had no idea of the science, never. I just knew I'd been in 100 crop circles and I loved them and they all had really high electromagnetic energy. But it wasn't until movie 8 when all of a sudden William Levengood, who died a year before I met him, yeah, I met a dead guy. And it's all explained in the beginning of Crop Circle Diaries. And it made me go to the lab where I met Penny. The story of how I made these films still amazes me. And even though I've been through some serious bodily injury because of what I knew and because of what I shared, I have suffered the last 3 years to the point where I couldn't walk 2 months ago. I've been through hell. And I'm just going to say it out loud. I don't know who did what to me. All I know is I collapsed at an airport and I haven't recovered easily. So I just had a miraculous treatment of Regenix, which is where they took a lot of blood out of my arm and loaded it into my bone-on-bone hips and my spine that was very damaged when I was hurt. But I've been through hell and I can't talk about it, of course. But I do want people to know that as I watch all these young journalists, you know, and there's 100 of them now doing what Laura and I and Alfred have done for a decade, loyally, religiously. I'm really glad to see all these new journalists, but now we're moving into that same kind of frequency of they're competing for numbers and subscribers, and now they're bitching because they're getting pulled off Twitter and they're getting pulled off YouTube. I mean, what a horrible thing. But what amazes me is how can Americans not realize that a wannabe, what's that guy? He's just a wannabe Bin Laden, the guy with the beard that runs Twitter, you know, calling from being
Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, I mean, they call him Jack Off Dorsey.
Ooh, right.
He calls from his yacht out on the ocean somewhere and he says, yeah, ban Twitter, you know, ban the president. Like, how are they getting away with this? This is where the pantomime really kicks in for me. I don't think it's possible that Zuck and Dorsey can get away with this. It just feels almost as real as Biden being president. The poor guy. Anyway, I don't want to talk about all the memes I posted. Oh, they've all disappeared. My last 2 years has completely disappeared. Now, I didn't get banned. I just got disappeared. And they pulled up all my crop circle stuff thinking, oh, that's going to hurt her. That's going to scare her. It's like, no, it reminded me how important the science is. It reminded me that I saw the charge density plasma machine, and by hook or by crook, even though the lady that inherited Lefty's farm and lab said to me, no, you can't bring your movie camera in. And I said, can I just have a couple snapshots of my little small orange Instamatic thing? She goes, okay. And she and Penny Kelly went in the other room. I wore myself out. I got 83 photos in 4 minutes flat. I climbed under and on top of every table and I shot everything. But the charge density plasma machine, and you notice how many times I'm repeating those 4 words, charge density plasma machine. I don't know what it means, but I know some of you out there do. And I know that Lefty took seeds from crop circles and put them on that metal tray between those 2 circular metal plates. Those seeds are sitting on the bottom, and when he took them out, they grew 30 to 400% more food and biofuel per plant. Did they have to come from a crop circle? Maybe not. Maybe they just need to be seeds that are hit with charge density plasma. So next time you hear people talk about crop circles being made by blokes from, just got out of the bar and they got their boards and ropes and they went and made some crop circles, turn the channel. Bear with me, turn the channel, because we have an opportunity now to really clear our heads. Alfred's got this great program to bring us back to present time. To me, it sounded like Nasara Jasara, and that's what we want. We want the evolution of humanity. We want people to wake up together as friends. And this crap separating us. I go to the grocery store and I'm chased around by the masked Nazis. It's like these poor people, I look at them and I go, I am so sorry you have to do this to us. And then when I check out, the guys I can't even understand what they're saying. And I look around and everybody looks really stupid. I think it's the most humiliating thing, other than making us all wear cupcake bras, men and women. What if they all made us put a string with 2 cupcakes and put them over our whatever we have there? I mean, we would do it. A red nose on the clown face. We would do it if that'll save us. But what if it's true that everybody that's getting a vaccine is having their DNA changed? What if it's true that this first vaccine problem is a problem? What if it's true that
the crux, like, that's why, when I said I feel like the mark of the beast has been nullified and neutralized just because of this other stuff that is really focused in changing that energetic signature, that even in the face of, that kind of mark of the beast, something else is going on that is going to neutralize it. Because there's family members that it didn't matter that I warned them. It didn't matter that I, have sent information over the years about the vaccines, and they're like, oh, I just got one, but I didn't want to put fear in them. So I was like, I'm sure it's going to work out really great. And I bet it's one of the good ones. And, I don't want to feed, the fear of it. But I cried for 3 days straight because it was my, well, I guess I could say it on air. It's not like he's going to watch this, but yeah, it was my father. And it was just like, I was so devastated. I couldn't work for days. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just, but then this download came in and said, you know what? He's such a good man. He's such a good person. And no, it's like mind over matter, like, but it's like mind spirit over matter. It has to go beyond thought forms. We have to trust that, God, goddess, earth, planetary consciousness, spirit, what anybody wants to call it, is not going to allow those that have been duped, mistreated, abused, and deceived without them really truly knowing it. If they're good people, I just don't buy into that they're screwed and it's irreversible. I just don't.
Well, I hope 5G is the same thing. We talk about the energies shifting, what those towers were planning to do that were designed by China. I mean, everything unfortunately seems to be going back to China. And I never looked at that when I was dealing with all my troubles and hacking and getting hurt. And it's a very strange time, especially for whistleblowers. But I want to end my segment by reading something that I read this morning. And I found it very enlightening and empowering because I am a patriot. Now, I don't know what else I am politically, because much like Laura, I was never into politics. And when they introduced Trump on his little show called The Apprentice, and they made him a huge star. And they brought in his family and his daughter, and they made everybody hate him. You're fired. You're fired. I mean, they made everybody hate him, and then they set him up to be president. So anyway, here's an interesting thing I read this morning that just feels so right. We are fighting for life. We are fighting for good. We are at war. Not everything will be clean. It's a necessary event. Do you trust the US military? Do you trust the chain of command? Have faith. We are in control. Patriots, Patriot Day, have faith. You were chosen for a reason. You are being provided the highest level of intel ever to be dropped publicly in the history of the world. Use it and protect and comfort those around you. We are being gifted the highest intel in our history. So it's up to each and every one of us. Do we take it in? Do we grow? Do we learn? Do we evolve? Or do we block our eyes, put the fucking mask on, and social distance to be sure we don't tell anybody anything we know? We wouldn't want to, you know. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got the orange dot on my phone all the time on the right next to my battery bar that I've read repeatedly means they're recording me. So if they're recording me, I always like to say, you know, good morning, effers.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same. It's just like, I'm like, keep going. Sorry.
Here's my favorite morning line. When I open up my computer and I go, YouTube, BitChute, YouTube, BitChute. But all I say is, will the real news please stand up? And that's
nice.
How I start my day.
I mean, the thing is, we got to turn it around, and they're creating reversals. It's like if you coil up a swing to go in an opposite direction, the minute you let your hand go, it rapidly, really quickly corrects itself. So if the mind can just let go in the same way that a coiled up swing, you know, with two ropes, you know, remember when you were as a kid, it'd be like, oh, let's wind it up and then unwind, and you'd be like, oh my God, it's like the sit and spin too. It's just like the things about spirals. It's the reversal spins take such a heavy hand to keep alive. But when one lets go, the rapid pace of the awakening to correct itself is huge. So I had to just say that because you just reminded me of that.
Well, may we all land in the right place after we quit spinning, because this is a spin. And anybody you talk to, all I can say is maybe I'm in Colorado, wrong state this year, but everybody I talk to has no idea what Black Lives Matters is. Like, they think it's a good thing. They don't realize it was invented and funded by George Soros along with Antifa. I mean, these kids came from the same toilet, I'm sorry to say. And you've got this blonde guy from Antifa on YouTube saying, you know, he's talking like a gang boy, but he's got the tear, which means, hi, I killed someone and I'm really proud. But he basically says, with a lot of cuss words, it was us on January 6th at the Capitol. Yeah, it was us. And they can pretend all they want it was anybody else, but it was us, Antifa, and we're proud. And we're just preparing to come back and do more damage. So how they turned it around on Trump was only because his polite speech that said, go home peacefully and be peaceful, was banned everywhere. Nobody could hear his speech anywhere unless you were really quick, or you found somebody else that was really quick and reposted. But the level of banning and hiding is enough to tell anyone you are having the truth hidden from you. They wouldn't spend this kind of time or money if you were a liar. I know.
Oh no, they wouldn't care. They're covering up a crime scene, and they're not. I got banned after somebody literally was calling me a bigot, a Nazi, and it's like, I'm like, excuse me. It's like, oh yeah, well, I can block and delete and block and delete. It's like, it's so foreign and insane to me. I can't even like freaking believe it. and I'm the one that gets shut down because I actually retweeted it and I said, look at this level of abusiveness. Look at this level of, I mean, ridiculousness. It's like, this person doesn't even know me. They don't know the path that I've led. They don't know my genetics. And most of the strong, you know, Black people that I know are like, love me and are incredible warriors. And yeah, you know, we don't like to be like really, I mean, being Black is such a beautiful thing. It's like, think about having white skin. We go out into the sun, we get all sunburned. It's like, nobody really likes being white. Look at people go to tanning salons just to look, you know, or be, I mean, the majority of people don't have a racist bone in their body. It's the deep state tactics. And that's me just describing it on the most superficial level. I mean, I've been, you know, it doesn't even matter, but I had every almost like reggae album when I collected vinyl. I had dreads down here and it didn't matter. It's like, I'm still a pasty white faced person and who gives a shit? I don't understand any of this stuff and I'm just going to lose it if we go there. And okay, so I'm so excited because I'm in touch with Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece, who was just like, this is such a targeting. So I mean, my prayer is that her and I will, you know, join forces. It's just, she's one of my favorite people. And she's just like calling it out. Same with Lee Terrell, reached out to him, civil rights lawyer, African-American dude. And it's just like, you know, I always felt like this is my soul family. These are my people, but it has nothing to do with the color of their skin. It's just like, you guys are my soul family and people. I don't care if you know, have like a big beak and like huge eyeballs and you're purple and green. It's like, when you live, they're literally targeting the personality matrix to turn us against each other, which we've been talking about.
Well, you were talking earlier about Washington, D.C. and the circus cage of Pelosi, Schumer, and all those pedo criminals. But, you know, when we talk about 26,000 military people were brought in, one pseudo president put them in a parking structure in 35-degree weather. The other president invited them to his hotel, with a capital P, president, to his hotel to be warm, perhaps have a shower, perhaps have room service. Who knows how he took care of the military? But that says to me, possible answer to my question, were they there to protect those inside the cage with the metal ribbon? What do they call it? Razor sharp ribbon?
Yeah.
Or were they there to keep them in? Was it to keep us out or them in? So what if we're not hearing about how great it is that America's being cleaned up, that they brought all those people together, all those fine Obamas, Clintons, Bushes, douches. Oh, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And Beyonce and Lady Gaga. They didn't mention Madonna, but I would think.
J-Lo. Oh, I think Madonna is just like, she's just falling off the rails. It's just, she had her grid. She put her grids on. And I think, you know, and Michelle Obama didn't even show up at the thing.
Michael.
I know it's Michael, but yeah. Alfred, what are your thoughts? I mean, keep going though. It just, right?
This is the funny stuff where you just wonder, how can people not see it?
I know. I mean, no, it's crazy. It's so crazy. It's like they're literally being overtaken, and it's scary. It's really scary because it's like, you know, this isn't about Trump. It's not about Trump as the individual, you know, but it's about like breaking all the stereotypes and the projections. You know, if you really want to stop racism, don't become one. You know, look at this person's heart. You know, look at what he's trying to do. He's not perfect either. So do we give all our power away to him? No, we need to stay strong and in touch with ourselves, number one. And, you know, call out any anomalies, you know, especially if he's being heavily compromised. But I just feel like, you know, this greater team is forming and it's multicultural and it's, I mean, he has said so many amazing things that if people don't listen to him directly and just get their information from the mainstream news, yeah, it's like, all right, I get that you can't think for yourself, but they're walking around with like degrees And they're in this like really sad state of like sort of ego attachment to whatever they learned or got indoctrinated into, that they're not humble enough to just admit, oh, maybe I was wrong. It doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, appreciate, you know, the medical education you got, or, you know, the fact that, you know, and use those skills to stand for something of worth. And it's not about worship of Trump. It's not about Republican Party. The spirit of the Patriots is about freedom. And it's about appreciating and honoring that true oneness is diversity and harmony, that we can all be who we truly are and be ourselves, and somehow find a way to make it work and create this beautiful orchestra and this beautiful song, you know, instead of, I just, the energy of the left, and I've never been political, and I you know, Alfred mentioned it, but, and I'm not saying that all people that are Democrat or left are like this, because I mean, if I were to choose, you know, if anybody said, you know, what do you feel more aligned with? I might have said, yeah, I'm more liberal. And I'm not anything. I'm not, I feel like I'm labelless. I just, but what I feel about the Patriots and what Trump stands for has nothing to do with it's like the George Bush dynasty and the corrupt GOP and the Mitch McConnells and, you know, this very, very dark and twisted part of the Republican Party. You know, Patriots have nothing to do with. To me, Patriots are free spirits, and they're bold and they're brave, and they probably had a lot of past lives where they were out on the battlefield, and they bled for what we're looking to preserve. And I have so much respect. And it's just like this whole racist thing, like it's so annoying that I'm so glad I got deplatformed. It's just like, are you serious? Shut the I'm not gonna drop F-bombs, but no, it's insane. It's like, you've literally lost your mind, people. You've lost your mind. It's like, you know, Martin Luther King's niece, if you go to her Twitter page, like, she's launched a campaign that says, you better realize Trump is not racist. Look at what he's done for us. Look at what he's done for, you know, it's not even about Trump, but the whole point is Black Lives Matter is not going to listen to somebody like her. Martin Luther King's niece, who literally is a part of this prayer group that put their hands on him, including Terrence Williams, one of the greatest comedians and, you know, Trump supporters. And they're just like praying over him. Does that mean Trump's perfect? Does it mean they're worshiping him? Does it mean they fully count on him? No, but they know this is a psyops. A lot of people in the highest like echelon of civil right activism, which doesn't matter what color you are. It's just all of our rights. Doesn't matter what color we are. It's like, these people are not ready for disclosure. It's like, how are we even like processing? It's like, I just can't even believe it. No, but I can. No. All right. I got to shut up. So what are your thoughts?
It's upsetting. Yeah. I just want to say my movies all have 2 lines, and I feel like they're more appropriate than ever. And I forgot about them until being reminded of my crop circles. But the line that I was given that's in every film goes like this: it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's not who you know, it's who you really are.
That's beautiful. Really.
Oh, totally.
Wow.
What are your thoughts, Alfred?
I'm sorry?
What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, you know, I still am identified with the new earth. And I think that's I'm pushing for the new earth. And I want to birth the new earth. And that's,
oh my God, but both of what you guys said needs to be like a t-shirt. Sorry. Keep going. You want to birth the new earth. That's so awesome. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But no, you guys are just nailing like these like things that, well, I could replay it and just be like, make t-shirts. I was never into making merchandise, but it's like, here's an Alfred quote, here's a Patty quote. I might have a Laura quote here and there. But anyway, keep going. You're here to birth the new earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really where I am now, you know. And yeah.
Very honorable.
Well, I mean, Alfred, you're a tremendous warrior, and so are you, Patty. And I know I will not quit, and I will not be defeated. Yes, sometimes I go into that zone of like, sometimes I just wake up, I'm like, oh, I'm dying, but it's just like, who cares? And then I just like start to giggle. I'm like,
They
what's
hate
the big
giggle.
deal? Worst case scenario, even if I did die, it's like, oh, maybe I could just be in the warm and loving embrace of God's source. But yeah, we're needing to turn this planet around. It's been infected and overtaken by an archonic system, change the planetary grid network and the trajectory of the human seedings that took place. And it's not okay. So, and there's no failure when we're not in duality. There's no right, wrong, failure, success. It's a process. And even though, things might move a little bit more slowly down in this lower dimension, I'm really proud of us for, being willing to stay here. Like, we didn't manifest our own deaths. I didn't go to Mars. You guys didn't go and just like abandon your mission either, right? I'm really proud of us, and everybody who's listening that is on board with what we stand for, and the fact that we're all holding a piece of this greater puzzle and we're this unified energy. This is so inspiring,
Well, the most important thing we can do is encourage people to keep faithful. Don't give in, don't give up, and don't get over it, because we're going to win this war against evil. They've really shown their face. They've shown their colors. I expected the Trump card and the military to have dropped some bigger bombs by now, but I think that timing is everything, and I'm willing to wait, because I think good things are coming. I start the show and I end the show as Patty Positive, and people are like, how can you be so positive? I've seen it. I've seen the playbook, I've lived through it, and I survived. We're all going to survive this, but how much we suffer between now and that punchline is up to us. So keep your faith. Be really, really nice to people, because that's going to come back and bite a lot of people in the butt. The Nazis, the mask Nazis, the people that chase you around the store. This is the third time, she said to me last week. And I thought, wow, last time you're going to see me at this grocery store with my $100 bills. And I don't mean to say it like that, but it's like yeah. So many blessings is how I would like to say goodbye to everyone. And please stay faithful, be kind, and keep listening to your higher self.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, the breath of life is the energetic consciousness of this planet that is here to nurture us and heal us. And yes, it hasn't been so easy for us to connect with that, for a while. And a major, kind of shift happened. And that's why, this big kind of freak out, is taking place. But, it's ultimately, healing ancestral patterns, galactic wars, all these things that have, stolen our mind and our free thinking abilities. But yeah, enough people have been on the planet that are like, I'm not going to lose connection with the truth, and bringing it in is a part of the great catalyst, just as much as the control and the enemy revealing itself, which doesn't have to be an enemy, because we're transmuting it and healing it. I mean, I think for most humans, this is where they're facing the negative ego construct of what this 3D program really represents. You're either going to stand up for it and cheer it on and be like the deputy of this dark agenda and rat out your neighbors, just because you want to be the, good and responsible human, because that's what you think this is about. And then you got, your folks that are just like, this is BS. And it's going to be a little bit weird for a while, but I have no doubts. I mean, I just feel like I live and breathe, just like you guys, like a positive outcome. And I don't know anything else. I don't know how to feel fear, and if anybody, okay, so some of my favorite shows, if anybody's like, because I don't like to watch movies anymore, I'm like, it's not pedophile free, and I'm not going to support these actors in these movies, but I shouldn't be alive. I've probably seen every episode, and being a wilderness expedition leader, I can appreciate it. But then I'm like, oh my God, And then this new one that just came out about all these people that had afterlife experiences. They died. And most of them just had the most unbelievable experience. It's really good. I think it's called I Survived, and it's on Amazon. I highly recommend it. Some of these people's story, like some dude, okay, this is just one. A truck rolled over his chest, and he said it's like holding a packet of crackers and crushing it in your hand. It's still contained, but it's all, and I mean, and most of these people were dead for 15 or 20 minutes. And they describe what they went through, and you can tell that they're not just BSing. And this one dude, though, he actually experienced hell, but it was probably something that he had to clear within himself. But anyway, so I think I Shouldn't Be Alive. I highly recommend. And I Can't Believe I Survived, and I Shouldn't Be Alive. That will inspire people to just be like, they're manipulating us to fear things that are actually very transcendent. Most of these people that crossed over to the other side, even if they had kids, even if they had a wife, they're like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And I was like, all right, don't tell that to your wife, because if my husband crossed over and said that, that would definitely bum me out. And I told him, like, if that happens to me, I'll totally come back and we won't be on the show. But the whole deal is the greater and larger picture. Let's not let them mess with our heads and cause us to fear. God's source is the real deal. This is a lower matrix of, it's the bottom feeders. How can we feed on you? And it's up to us to say, you can't. I'm not your host, and I do not consent. So, and whatever it takes. I mean, I had this dream where, some Chinese or cop thing, I don't even know where it was coming from, showed up at my house. It was ready to drag me away. I grabbed their gun and I shot myself. And then this was a dream. And then I went into this incredible experience, and it was like, it was righteous suicide. It wasn't depressed or no, it was just like, you do not have me. You can't have my DNA or my soul. And if it leads to this, maybe that's too much information, but yeah, I dreamt that. And it was like, and then all of a sudden it was like, I had this incredible experience. And I was like, oh my God, I just woke up and I'm still in the physical plane. People said, you can't die in your dreams. I've died so many times in my dreams. Anyway, I know we got to close the show, but what are your guys' thoughts? And anyway.
Well, that is the most amazing dream, because you just transcended many taboos in that dream.
I know, I just grabbed the gun. I was like, you want to try and I just grabbed it. I was like, but then I went into this whole other thing, and it wasn't considered like, suicide or anything dark. I just went straight to God's source, and I was like, even if
wow.
It's basically saying, no matter what it comes to, don't fear, your freedom of consent. It's a little bit different of a vibration if you're like super depressed, you hate your life, and, life is miserable. I mean, you're going to live a hell life, whether you're alive or dead, right? But it felt like, what? You can't have me. And it was a statement about that. So it didn't feel like suicide. It felt like I choose my sovereignty, and I'm a liberated and free spirit, and you can't have me. So it wasn't like the vibration of suicide. So what we could maybe name it something different, just in case we have to all do that.
Right.
Which I don't think we will.
Sovereign affirmation.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sovereign affirmation.
I want to affirm that this is a sovereign program that we are laying down here today. A very sovereign program, and thank you so much. And so, do we want to go around and just say something to everybody? I mean, to the
like final words?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So, well, who wants to start? I feel like I just talked too much right now, so I don't want to
repeat. It's not what you see, it's what you don't see. Really keep that in mind as you go about your world. It's not who you know, it's who you really are. Be a good person.
I love that.
And I just want to say that Um, although I can't prove it, on December 21st, 2020, we actually went through here on this planet. We actually went through a portal, and we're actually now on. We went through the Jupiter-Saturn portal, and we're actually now on a positive timeline. We're now in a different state. We now have entered the state of the new Earth. We now are in the new Earth. We're in a new place. And so that's where we are. So welcome to the new Earth. And, you know, you're either in breakthrough or breakdown or both, but just enjoy it and build with it. And that's it.
That's so awesome what you both just said. I mean, we're the skipper of the ship, right? So storms might come along. So maybe we need to like pull down the sails a little bit, like reef the main is what they used to say. You know, and maybe it's time to like put the anchor down. It's like being instinctual and being spontaneous and being aligned and connected helps us to know what to do in every moment. And it doesn't really matter like what's breathing down our neck. We can face it from a place of you know, knowingness. And you know, the universal laws, the greater universal laws, cosmic and natural laws cannot be destroyed. You know, they can invert it and manipulate it and send it through the streams of like media, social media, news, and all this stuff, and capture people's minds. And they can just all of a sudden be like, it's just like, no offense, here's a lifeboat, get the hell off my ship, because my personal boat is functioning from my higher awareness, and I'm not going to let a bunch of robbers. I mean, there's a lot of good pirates. I don't mean the good pirates, but you know, there's a lot of things that want to, you know, kind of tear it down. And that's where it's not like black or white. You know, there's this place where we can all meet if we choose love and integrity. Doesn't matter, you know, what the outer disposition is. It's just a reminder of what we really need to do amongst each other, regardless of where they put their attention. It's like, I don't care if you're like, you're Jewish, Catholic, or this or that, but are you a decent human that like brings something beautiful to a community where you have a healing presence and you're a loving being? Or is that label or thing that you stand for going to make you hate others? That's when whatever that is null and void in your world. Doesn't mean somebody else, you know, doesn't get it. You know, it's like, there's going to be a schmuck everywhere you go. And it doesn't matter what they stand behind. So just to make a long story short, I love you guys. And yeah, you know, I feel like we're going to increase the energy of this community. I mean, when I talk about community, it's people that are devoted to love, integrity, compassion, forgiveness, boundaries, and holding this greater vision. And, you know, nobody can separate it from us, because back in the day when we all like became public people, we were dealing with this. It just wasn't so obvious, right? We were still dealing with these really dark and negative forces. And that's the thing. It's not like, oh, you know, and maybe remember we didn't have cell phones. Remember we only had like Pong, you know, I love being a 70s, 80s kid. It's just like, we didn't have any of that. But when you feel into the greater collective consciousness and the greater intuition and telepathic abilities that we have with each other, they think that they're going to bum us out, like deplatforming us. Even if they take us off this, yeah, the wizards in the room, like you guys, you know, and the people that we know, it's like, yeah, there's always going to be another platform. It's an unstoppable force. And it's inspired by this greater energy of God source that created this planet to help rehabilitate souls and help them to not be used and abused by, you know, fallen angels or AI. You know, that's only the place within ourselves that isn't willing to look at the bigger picture. So we can really break free of it the minute we're like, okay, I will explore further than what my family taught me, what the school systems taught me, or whatever traditional religion that one was raised in, or political party. So I just talk, but you know what I mean? I keep making those noises. It's really annoying, Lisa. But I love you guys. It's been so wonderful to hang out with you. Like very healing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is very nice to meet up once a month with our News Evolution crew, which is the three of us. I'm super grateful too. And next time I report in, I'm going to be in another town. So,
Nice.
Oh, wow.
bye-bye, Boulder, and all your little military helicopters and underground facilities. Yes,
Okay.
Sadie.
Well, until we meet again. Good enough.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. And I look forward to next time. It'll be so interesting to see like where everything like is. And I feel like, you know, we have to know when we stay creative beings, we keep these conversations alive, we really are helping, you know, this timeline to unfold in a really beautiful way. And, you know, sometimes it's just like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't get out of bed and I don't want to be public. I don't want anybody to see me. I don't feel so great. But the minute I do it, especially in the company of you guys, it's just like, oh, I'm so glad I did. It's very healing to me. And I hope other people feel encouraged and inspired. And I can't imagine that you wouldn't be, because I'm ready to just do the Chattanooga choo-choo in the backyard. I'm just like, so I love you guys. All right.
Love y'all.